Traditional Azerbaijani dress has developed as a result of long processes of material and religious culture of Azerbaijani people. It is closely connected to its history and reflects its national specification, ethnographic, historic and artistic features of the national creativity, which were also used in creation of determined forms of it, are reflected on costumes. Azerbaijani arts reminds about itself also in ornaments of costume with artistic embroideries, in weaving and knitting. In the 17th century, the territory of modern Azerbaijan was considered the main sericulture oblasts of the Near East, and Shevan was the main region of sericulture. Silks were produced in Shamaki, Baskal, Ganja, Shaki, Shusha and in other regions. Fine textiles, silk headkerchiefs for women with ornaments of amazing beauty and others were produced in these cities. Style of clothes reflected marital status and age of its owner. For example, costume of a girl and a married woman were differed. Young women wore more colorful and beautiful dresses. From the 20th century's national costumes in Azerbaijan are worn only in villages. Almost all national dances are performed in national costumes. Menswear. Male national costume actually was single in all zones of Azerbaijan. Class distinction. The owner was reflected on male costumes. Outerwear. National outerwear for men consisted of uskoini, or chepkan, arkalig, gabi and chaka. Arkalig was single-breasted or two-breasted. It was sewed of silk, cashmere, cloth, satin and other textiles. Garba, male humeral outerwear, which was sewed of taimi. Chaka, male humeral outerwear, which was detachable on the waist with layers and gathers. It was sewed of cloth, taimi and homespun textile. Kurg, fur coat made of lamb fur, without fastener, with collar, decorated with embroidery. One of the Russian ethnographers writes about Azerbaijani male costume. Headdresses. Papak was considered a symbol of fortitude, honor and dignity of men in Azerbaijan, and losing it was considered as a disgrace. Larceny of papak was considered as a hostile action against its owner. It was possible to outrage a man and all his generation by knocking down papak from his head. Social dignity of papak's owner could be determined by its form. Men never took the papaks off, except voodoo before salat. Appearance in public places without headdress was considered an indecent action. Papaks made of lamb fur karakul was the main headwear for men. They had different forms and local names. According to E. Torchinskaya, they have kept 4 types of Azerbaijani papaks in the State Hermitage Museum of St. Petersburg. Japa papak was widely spread in Karabakh and was covered with textile. They were differed by color. Gizil papak and Gumush papak. Motul papak was made of long-haired lamb fur and was in shape of cone. Motul papak was generally worn by poor strata of the society. Shish papak was cone-shaped or sharp-ended. According to the name of material which it was sewed of, they had a general name, Bukhara papak, a fur which was brought from Bukhara. It was worn only by representatives of beys or state and also prosperous people. Such kind of papaks were typical for city aristocracy. Dagger papak was spread in Nukinsky Uyezd. Its top was sewed of velvet. Bashlik consisted of hood and long, round ends, wound round neck. In winter was worn a bashlig made of cloth and wool. Bashligs made of camel wool, the lining of which was sewed of colorful silk, because when bashliks ears were thrown over shoulders the lining was visible, were especially valued in Shevan. Generally bashlig was accompanied by yapinji. Harakchan was worn under other headdresses. It was a typical traditional headwear of Azerbaijanis and was widely spread even in the Middle Ages. Emami was existed among religious people. Shoes, jorabs, woolen socks were widely spread in Azerbaijan. City residents wore leather shoes with folded toes of slip-ons. Boots were spread among aristocrats. Charigs, everyday shoes made of leather or rawhide, were worn by villagers. Women's wear. National female costume of Azerbaijanis consists of outwear and underwear. It includes sack-formed shawl, chadra, and a veil, ruband, which was worn by women while going outdoors. Outwear was sewed of bright and colorful textiles, the quality of which depended on income of the family. The clothing also included variety of different jewelries, golden and silver beads, buttons, stylized as a big seeds of hordium, coins, delicate pendants and necklaces. Unlike elders, young women wore more bright clothes with bright flowers. In the 19th century, Ivan Ivanovich Chopin described clothes of Azerbaijani women in Armenian Oblast as such way. Outwear consists of a shirt with wide sleeves and wide trousers to the ankle and bell-shaped shirts of the same length. Women also wore a knitted shirt with long sleeves tightly fitting across the back and chest, which had a wide slit at the front. At the waist it was tightly belted, but below it was parted by gatherings. A quilted sleeveless jacket was worn in cold weather. Outwear could be a cloak that was longer than the shirt. Women's shirts in Gazakuyzd were long with slits on each side. Women of Karabakh wore chepkan that was tight-fitting to the waist and with long hidden sleeves. Wide skirts and also tight and wide pants existed. Short to the knee shirts were worn in Nakhchivan. In Shusha, Shamaki and other districts shirts were longer. Long coolage were worn only by rich women in Nakhchivan and Ganja. Headdresses, it consisted of leather in form of sucker caps of different forms. Over it were worn several headscarves. Women hid the hair into a special sakchadga. Head was covered with a cylindrical pillbox cap. More often it was made of velvet. Over it was tied a chalma and several head scarves kalafai. Shoes on feet were worn socks, jorab. Shoes were slip-ons as for men. Gallery. In philately.